Hello and welcome to another Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now, what's really cool about this session today, our topic, is how to create beautiful outdoor portraits. So soon, the quarantine will be lifted and we'll be out and about and be able to create some killer portraits. I want to give you some tips, not just on the editing part of using Luminar, but also how to get these shots, how to drive into an area or scout a location and learn to look past what you see and visualize what you want it to be. So learn to look past what you actually see, because what I'm going to show you in a couple minutes is you'll see this area looks beautiful, but in reality, I was driving down my subdivision and I looked over to the right, saw this old busted up looking fence, trees, the mulch, just, it wasn't that pretty of an area. And I'm going to show you what we created with it. So again, learn to look past what you see and envision what you want it to be. All right. Now, here we are. I'm feeling good, Mike. Thank you. All right, guys. But before we begin, let's take a quick moment to thank our partner, Fujifilm, and listen to a real quick message they have to offer us about staying home. Now, Fuji has two killer ebooks that they're supplying for free. Last week was on portraits. This week is on 6 speedlight techniques to create better photos. And here's the link down below. So you can just fill out the information and then they'll send you this ebook. If I'm not mistaken, Kabasi, aren't you you're a Fuji shooter. So you switched from another company that you've been working with for years. And for those that don't know, Mike Kabasi is the Hollywood photographer that shoots on NCIS. And he shoots, well, not just that show, but a ton of shows. And one of the comments that we were talking about before was he'd have to have a blimp on his lens, this huge device. So while they were filming, he could shoot and it was dead silent. With the mirrorless, he just says that it's completely awesome. So, and I know he switched over to the Fuji. All right, so let's begin. Here is one of my awesome little girls, Michaela. I've known her and her family. Well, I've known her before she was born. And this was her prom picture. Now, this is what we're going to start with. I'm in the history tools right here. And this, let me get up to the top, is how we're going to finish. There we go. So, again, here's what we started with. This is what I saw. This is what I envisioned while I was driving by. All right. So I'm going to start all the way to the bottom. And again, all I did here, one of our viewers made a comment. They asked me if I could slow down a little bit and make sure that I show, where I'm clicking. So I think that's that New York in me or too much coffee I've been drinking. So I clicked on the history tool, and then from here I just reset all the way to the bottom, the original image. So now I'm back up to the essential tools. Now here's where strategy comes in. I have to make a decision. This stuff up here is killing me. So there's not much I could do. I could crop it if I wanted to. That's one option. Or if I like the format, what we can do is instead of starting with developing the image, let's repair it. So I'm going to click on the canvas tools. I'm going to click on the layer tools, and I want to create a new stamp layer. So a stamp layer, what a stamp layer is going to be doing is taking all the tools we used on this bottom layer and merging them to this top layer. Now that I have the stamp layer, I'm going to replace these distractions with elements inside the image. So let's do layer transform. And all I'm going to do is move it up and over right about there. And click done. Now, I'm sure you can see where I'm heading with this. Now I'm going to click on Edit Mask. So the layers all have their own mask, and so do the tools. So all the tools, except for light, has their own masking features also. So here we are, Edit Mask. I want to brush. What I want to do is click Paint at, let's do 100% opacity. And now I'm going to paint in the effect where I want it to be. I like it here, there. In fact, I went a little overboard, so I'm going to erase some of the effect. There we go. And here we have it. Boom. Before, after. All right? Now, if I apply any changes to this layer, the stamp layer, well, the only thing that will be affected would be the mask area. So let me create a new stamp layer. I'm combining the stamp layer and the original, and I'm merging them together. And while I'm at it, I might as well name it. Let's rename this starting point. Good. So now we just used Luminar to help us quickly fix some areas. Let's see, what does Russell say? I have two speeds, hyper and warp speed. Thank you. All right. Let's see what else we have here. We also have Ev. Ev and Mike, you two need to meet each other. You two will get along great. All right. And we got one more. Good, guys. I'm so glad to see everyone here. Hey, Gavin. All right. Now, here I have the image. I look at it and think, okay, so what's the next issue I want to fix or I want to make better? Well, I definitely want to add more detail, tone, and depth to the image. So look at this. I'm going to use the AI accent. That's going to help. What I also want to do is set the white balance. So I'll click on the light tool and using the eyedropper tool for the white balance. The little trick I showed before is I'm going to click look at that, just on the white of the eye, and that's going to give me a nice pleasing white balance. If it's a little too much, here's cooler and warmer. Maybe I'll cool it just a little right about there. Good. And you'll catch me every so often, constantly just checking my image to make sure it looks good or I see changes to it. From advanced, now keep in mind, this light tool is similar to our light tool is very similar to the AI accent. The difference is this is a manual setting, whereas the AI accent is more artificial, using artificial intelligence. But I still have control over enhancing the blacks, enriching the blacks, maybe bringing out the white just a little bit. Shadows look fine, and the contrast. Now, in a moment, I'll go over the gear I used to get this shot and the thought behind it. So far, I like where I'm heading. There. Now, let's stay into the essential tools. As photographers, this is where we're going to be spending most of our time because these are the tools. These are the tools that we are going to be using the most. Vibrancy. I'll dial back to saturation just a little bit. And let's check out. Nope, I like where that's heading. All right, the detail enhancer. Now this we have to be careful. It's always best to go to 100%. Now, if I start to work with a small detail, look what it does to her skin. So let's be careful and cautious. I do want to add some detail, but not to the point to where it's making her look bad. Good. So we have that set. Nice. All right, now let's come down. Of course, we're going to drop a little vignette on here. Go to an extreme for a moment. But I want to choose the subject right here. Yeah, I like that right there. All right, here we go. Let's dial it back. Good. Now, oh, I like that right there. And you know what? While I'm here, look at this. We can add inner light to the scene. I'm just going to add just a little bit. Good. All right, it's shaping up good. Now, I want to get creative, but I'll come back to the creative tools. I do want to come down to the portrait tools. And, of course, enhance the skin. Let's go to 100% again. I want to enhance the skin. Remove any blemishes. Good. And then here's the portrait, the AI portrait enhancer. She has gorgeous eyes. Here they're a little bit dark. So let's enhance the eyes. Let's bring them out. Remove some of the dark circles. Let's fill in her eyebrows just a little bit. All right. And I'm checking the lips. That's good. All right. Now, here's what's really neat too. If we need to, I could actually add shine, or not shine, but I could actually relight the face. Let's bring a little bit more light to it, right about here. All right, let's see the effect. Before, after. Look at that. Oh, I just love how it takes care of the eyes and the skin. So I have it all set here. Now, at this point, and yes, Bruce brought out a good point, use a grade card in the first place. Yes, there's a lot of different grade cards that are out there, and the white balance cards. And you have some from Weibel to X-Rite. So yes, that's a good idea to bring it on set. And now, here we go. And Mike brought out a good point. Yes, for the white balance, yes, I could have used the flower. The reason why I chose her eye for the white balance is in a portrait, there's always going to be an eye, hopefully. So that's just a little tip. There's not always going to be a flower. All right, so I like this. Now, notice the Orton effect is part of the portrait tools. This is kind of one of those filters that's unique. It sharpens, but at the same time, blurs the image. And if you look at her face, I like what it's doing, but it's just a little too much. But that's fine. I love what it's doing to the scene. Let's see what number 2 does. Oop. 1 seems to be a little more saturated. 2 seems a little less. If you're unsure of what it's actually doing, let's come over here to the Help menu, and we're going to click on User Guide. Now, here we are with the User Guide. I type in the Orton effect, Orton, and here it is. So let's see what those 2 sliders did. Yep, sure enough, 1 increased the saturation of the image, and 2 is a softer glow. So how cool is that? Is that inside the program, if you have questions, just check out the videos or check out the user guide inside the app so you don't have to check YouTube with thousands of videos that are out there. So here we are. I like this. See the effect. It's subtle. Let's apply a little more. Good, I like that. Now, what I don't like, of course, is the eyes. So let's go to 100%. All right, so by applying the effect, of course, it applied it to the eyes too. Not as bad, but it's there. So I'm going to brush out. So under the edit mask, I want to erase the effect just on the eye. I can click the mask visibility icon to make sure I'm selecting the right area. There we go. All right. Good. You know what? Now that we're here, which I think is pretty cool, is why don't we drop and let's put just a little catch light into the eyes. So I'm looking right here, and I can tell that the sun was coming through, and we used a reflector over here to bounce some light back in. But let's go to the advanced tools. We'll use dodge and burn. And I'll click on lighten. Let's bring this down. We always build up the effect. Yeah, about 15. And what I want to do from here is just lightly, ever so lightly, I want to put a little catch light or a fake one here and here. Now, it doesn't look like we're doing a lot, but if I turn it on and off, look at that. You can see what we're doing. And done. Good. So here's before, here's after, and we're able to get that in. Let's look a little bit closer. Good. Actually, I like exactly where everything is. If I wanted to, while we're in the advanced, the Pro Tools, I could use the adjustable gradient to control the top and the bottom half of the image. I like it. I mean, I like how this is up here. I could maybe drop it just a touch. Right about here. Set the orientation. Move it up off of her face. There we go. You know, I could do that. Let's see what it looks like. Before, after. But you know what? I'm going to learn to step away from it. So I'm going to reset it. I'm going to leave it. I actually like where it's at. So this is fine for me. All right? So once again, we started with this. Then, with cleaning it up just a bit, we ended with a beautiful portrait for outdoors. So, I mean, how cool was that? To where we're able to recreate like something like in a studio. Like Mike has killer. I wish you could see these senior portraits he did of his son. They're killer looking images. You would have thought he went on location to shoot them. They're backdrops. And the backdrops look so realistic. It was so cool. I saw that, and then I remembered, hey, I actually photographed Michaela outside. So if you don't have a studio, this is a perfect way for you to go outside and, again, scout a location, but don't take the location at face value. Don't look at that and think, I'm stuck with just this. You could alter it in such a way to where you're only taking a piece of that sliver of that location to produce, an image like this. So now that's one. Now, the question you should be asking yourself, one second. Okay, please share your thoughts. Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. All right, good. So she's using Windows 10 and has raised a support question. Needs to change any settings to export. Okay, I'm going to look at this. Thank you. Kayla, I'll check that out in just one moment. When we wrap this up, I'll revisit your question. And if not, you can always send me an email at benelli@skylum.com. benelli@skylum.com, and I'll be able to answer it from there. So let's take a real quick look at the info. So this was shot with an 85 millimeter. Yep, it was shot with an 85 millimeter 1.4 Sigma lens at 2.8 and 1/160th of a second. Now, I just photographed Erica, the girl we use for the aviator. We went out to our botanical gardens, and I put it at 1/125th of a second. I'm shooting away like no big deal, natural light. Her eyes, when I zoomed in really close, were blurry, which I'm baffled. I had vibration reduction on. I had, I thought, a steady grip, and then I realized I just had a little procedure done to my legs. So without realizing, I was shaking a little bit. So that was camera shake. I bumped it up, the shutter speed up to 500th of a second, because again, we're dealing with natural light. Increased the ISO a bit, snap, snap, boom, tack sharp eyes. So when you're dealing with natural light, be mindful that you don't have flash, boom, to freeze that, to make it look tack sharp. So if you're dealing with natural light, again, you may have to bump up that shutter speed just to make sure you're capturing a very sharp, crisp image, all right? And yes, I chose 2.8, and I could have went to 1.4, but that's really pushing it. And ISO 100, which is fine. My native resolution is 64 ISO. But I liked what it did with the depth of field. All right, so that's why I chose 2.8. I could use a 70 to 200 millimeter lens, and at the 200, the long end, the compression would be phenomenal. I could have shot up to f4 because you're dealing with that compression. So the point I'm getting at is when you're doing portraits outdoors, you got to put that lens or that camera up to your eye because you have to see what the camera is seeing, and then don't be afraid to mess with your f-stops to see if a shallower depth of field would be better, or open it up and grab more from the depth of this. All right? So let's see. Hey, thank you so much. Now I'm going to come back. Well, let's use another question. Okay, why do you have to use 2 stamp layers to remove? So what I did, and I'm glad my buddy Ed always catches me on little things. Ed, I think it was habit. So I know where you're getting at. Let's come down here. We did the 1 stamp layer. We definitely had to do. So what we're saying, okay, let's go back to the original. So here's the original. Instead of using a stamp layer, if we used a new adjustment layer, and then on the new adjustment layer, notice I can't transform it. So that new adjustment layer, it can't be that. It has to be the stamp layer. So let's go back up here. So that's the reason why we use that stamp layer. Let's get back up to it. See, now I have the layer transform. So to answer that question, my buddy Ed, is the transform tool is only available in the, where are we? There we go. The transform tool is only available on the stamp layer, all right? Now, the second part of your question was, you understand that, but why do we use 2 of them? Let's do the brush again. Oh, see, I did erase. So let me invert the mask. There we go. So I'm really painting it in. There we go. All right, now let's see what we were talking about. From here, I created the second stamp layer because I wanted to merge everything together. My buddy brought out a point and said, what would happen if we tried the new image adjustment layer? Well, let's try it, and instead of doing what we just did here, let's just put on a beautiful, let's do a beautiful black and white. Hey, you know what? I just realized. Oh my God, people. Thanks a lot. Where is he? So where is he? We just did a killer. You just proved your point. I just proved your point for you on why we did the layers, but you guys were watching me the entire time. let me just back down real quick to show you. What we did was this. I am so sorry. Created a new stamp layer. Free transformed it. Then, once I did this, once we transformed it, I know. Once I transformed it, then I applied what I wanted. Now, we applied a new adjustment layer. We applied the new adjustment layer. Well, the problem with that is there's no, with a new adjustment layer, let's put back up here, is there's no transform tool. So we can't use that. We have to use a stamp layer instead. So now, here's where my buddy Ed gets the, there we go. Now he tells me. All right, so here's my buddy Ed becomes, here's where Ed becomes a second time, what is it, the coffee break, the king of the coffee break. So he said, well, Vanelli, what if at this point, instead of using another stamp layer, can't we just use an adjustment layer? So here's the adjustment layer. And to prove his point for him, if I apply filters onto or tools onto that one, boom, it worked. So to answer that question, and once again, great job, is yes, we can use an adjustment layer on that. All right. So keep in mind the adjustment layer and the stamp layer, they kind of like work in between. Now, what was good about what he suggested here, and this is what I love about this collaborative part, is what if I messed up on that the stamp layer? What if down there I messed up on the stamp layer, which is right here? If I messed up on here on one of these settings, if I made a second stamp layer, I couldn't go back to this stamp layer and fix it. So by doing what we just did, we had a fallback plan to where we could fix it. So great job on that. All right, let's see. All right, when he opens up, good. Yes, that is an option. So some people are using Capture One to open it up first and then bringing it in. Again, that's entirely up to you with your workflow. Keep in mind they're constantly improving, the raw formats and different things. And each camera manufacturer has its own version of it. So that's something you have to decide what's best. And then comments that you're making like this, to me, I can shoot that off to the engineers and say, hey, a couple of our members are noticing that if they open up Camera Raw in Capture One, they're getting better results. What can we do to fix this? And they'll take it from there. All right. Yes, thanks, guys. Share your screen after. All right, and let's see. See, this is where if I had a producer on set, the producer would be the one telling me, hey, they're the ones sharing the screen. So I'm going back. Here we go. So do me a favor. Here is shoot me an email at vanelli@skylum.com. And then from here, I can answer that a little bit more detail for you. All right. So again, guys, Fuji, we want to thank them tremendously for offering this new ebook. So you can fill it out. There is the bit.ly on the bottom. Check it out. Fill out your information, and then you'll get their new ebook on the 6 speed lighting techniques, create better photos. All right. Well, guys, thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next coffee break.